Thomas, could you just hit record on my computer? Record to the cloud.
Do we start on time?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know what time it is.
Thomas, what's your vote? Do we start on time?
With 3 minutes off, but it's Rockwood, so we can.
Okay. Is the door open or closed? Do you know?
I left it open a crack.
You did. Okay. No one's out there. No one is out there.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Let me grab one of the pseudos.
Do you want the big one?
The door is open. There's nobody there. I don't know if I can put a sign out and I'll sit back here. What do you think?
Okay, if you can find paper to make a sign.
Toss them on paper.
You know what I'm... They'll knock. Okay.
I'll just sign please not.
You want to wait till Lou gets back?
Okay.
So we can play Stump the Rabbi. Are you recording? Is this being recorded?
Yes.
Is that worse or better?
Doesn't matter. Moot. All right, why don't we start? Go ahead.
Okay. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. ידדי, ידדדדדדי. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. ידדי, ידדדדדי. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Welcome. It's good to be back. I hope it's like riding a bicycle and I remember how to do this. Shabbat is a time, and so I invite you to take a moment to breathe. Let the difficulties of this past week roll off of you as if you were coated in Teflon. It's so nice for me to be able to share the bima with Liv Musametri, and I am very appreciative of Thomas Burke for the video and the audio and all of those things I don't really know how to do. At any rate, it's nice to be here, and I'm glad that I can fill in for Rabbi Epstein. We're going to continue with singing, what I forget?
Light these lights.
Light these lights. We're going to continue with singing. Yeah.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with mercy and goodness and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Oh, let us light these lights Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlich ner shel Shabbat.
We're going to continue with Lecha Dodi, which is on page 20. And as is the custom here at West End Temple, as we reach the last verse, verse 9, we invite you to stand and face the door to welcome the Shabbat bride.
This is a very jaunty song. I love it a lot. Please don't get confused if we skip verses. We're only going to be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Okay. I hope you guys sing along. It's very, very jaunty. I love it. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el ham yuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechuvel nelka, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mekedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi uri, uri, shir daverim, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. We rise and face the door to greet the Sabbath beloved. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. Yai dai dai dai, dai 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 dai, dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai.
And as long as we're standing, I invite you to turn to your neighbor, either in your pew or across the pew, and ask them how their week has been going.
It's purposeful snooze time. I believe Thomas is allowing folks to unmute on Zoom for them to also participate in the purposeful snooze. although I cannot hear you, people on Zoom, I hope that you're having a very good week. How are you, Rabbi?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
How was your week?
My week was anticipatory. It was okay. It was okay. It was good. Thanks for asking. Just turn to.
This week has been rough, but it reaped a lot of good. I submitted my final papers, so I'm done for the semester, and
That's terrific.
though it does not really matter to me, I got very good grades on them.
They're finished.
Yes,
That's good.
it's very good,
That's good.
very good. And now I'm here with my friends.
Hmm?
And now I'm here with my friends.
Nice.
Yes, they came a long way. One came from Washington Heights.
Oh my God.
Yes,
That's far.
yes. We live at opposite ends of the A train.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. What you do for friends.
Oh. So we're going to continue on page 22. And I apologize, I forgot to welcome those who are at home watching us on Zoom. We're going to continue on page 22 with Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat.
This is one of my favorite songs. It's also a psalm, so I guess it's one of my favorite psalms. It is about singing and celebration and music, and I love that very much. It feels very relevant. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Lechagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelut. Aile asor ve'alei navel, alehi gayon bechinor. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon.
And we turn to page 28 and we rise for the Baruch Hu.
Is that the Shema? It's not.
may be seated. We're on page 30. Why don't we read the bottom of the page in English for the Ma'ariv or Avim? The prayer that acknowledges God's placement of the seasons, the stars, the sun, the moon, everything orderly as it should be, but more about that later in my sermon. So please join. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening Baruch Atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
We turn to page 32 for Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Avta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadita, Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu, ufkumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvachem negei yomam ve'layla, negei yomam ve'layla, ve'ahavatcha ol tasir, mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael.
We continue on page 34 with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. We turn to page 36 for the V'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uvleftecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam le'ot al yadecha ve'hayu latotefot b'neinecha uchtaftam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 39, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
The Mika Mocha is a song about freedom, and there is a little bit of call and response. At the end of every verse, I'm going to say one word, and then I'd love if you could repeat it. It will become evident as the song goes on. Yai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, dai 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 dai, yai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha Nedar v'kodesh, Nora, Tehilot, Osei, Fele, Nora, Tehilot, Osei, Fele, Malchutecha ra'uvanecha, Vokei ayam lifnei Moshe Miriam, Eli, Eli, Anu ve'ameru, Adonai, Yimloch, Leolam, Va'ed, Adonai, Yimloch, Leolam, Va'ed, Yai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, dai 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 dai, yai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Ka'al Yisrael.
Our next prayer, the Hashkivenu, which Liv will lead us in singing, is a prayer that some people have said is like a lullaby. Although I don't, are you doing a lullaby version?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, a lullaby version this evening. It really is asking God to spread God's shelter of peace over all of us. And what a wonderful gift it can be to fall asleep and feel protected.
Hashkivenu is on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu, uvoenu, lechaim ushalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Our next song is on page 44. We are doing V'Shamru, which is a song about the covenant, and specifically our covenant with God about keeping Shabbat, and how it fits into the cycle of the week. And it's also very jaunty. I like it a lot. V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. Beini uvein B'nei Yisrael, Oti le'olam, Oti le'olam. V'Shamru B'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. V'Shamru B'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et HaShamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. V'Shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasod et HaShabbat leDorotam berit olam. leDorotam berit olam. leDorotam berit olam.
We're going to rise for the Amidah, and we remain standing through page 62 or so. And when you are done with your prayers, you are invited to be seated. And we're on page 46.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth can declare your praise. Yadadai-dai-dai, 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 yadadai-dai-dai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Chonei Hakol, v'Zocher Chatzei Avot v'Imahot, u'Mevi Gula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechei Kol atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid atah. Mechalkel Chaim beChesed, Mechaye Hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'ofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umechayehem emunato, Nishenei afar, Michamacha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'ne'emanat al chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'himru Amen.
Our service continues with the Mishaberach on page 253. And I invite you to take a look at our list that you have in your service pamphlet and think about those friends, family, others in our community who are ill.
Yes. We are thinking of, from Zoom, Sherry Copeland, Isabella Lagamba, Loretta and Art Unless, Michael and Miley Balbo. Is anyone in this?
Does anybody else, is there anybody else we should be thinking about that you'd like to name out loud or in your heart as my hand reaches your gaze?
Arlene Hendon. We also pray for the healing of Zare Goodman, Jennifer Warrington, and Christopher Braden, who were injured at the Buffalo Massacre last week. Please join me on page 253 for the Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We are also thinking of Don and Joanne Sorgan.
You know, I would have recurring nightmares of reaching under here for my sermon and it won't be there. It's interesting to me, it is interesting to me at least, to have watched the changes in our world from the time when I began working at West End Temple to my retirement a couple years ago. Now, on the scary side of the ledger, there have been a myriad of climatic catastrophes, wars and bloodshed, the Great Recession, earthquakes, the Arab Spring, Sandy Hook, terrorism, domestic and international, famine, ethnic cleansing, to this seemingly unending pandemic, which they say is an endemic now. And then there's this looming recession, but I had already retired, so that wasn't really included in my list from 2005 to 2020. And that's just some of the bad stuff, and it's not a complete list, it's just a list. I was explaining to Luke Hargman earlier, there are people in this world that are Teflon and people in this world who are Velcro. I'm Velcro, meaning bad stuff sticks to me. Nothing slides off. So that's why I only gave you the difficult things in that list, but hopefully you're not like me. And then there was, during my tenure, before I came here actually, there was a technology and internet revolution that had occurred at least a decade before I began working here. And it has changed all of our lives. Some of us still use AOL. Anybody want to fess up to that? And some of us still use Hotmail. But most folk don't anymore. At my previous job, I was forced to migrate from WordPerfect to Word in 1996, and it was very traumatic for me. The technological revolution changed how the world operated. But when I arrived at West End Temple, not so much. When I started working here in 2005, there were 3 computers in the building. Vivian Martinfield had one in the office, there was one in the nursery school, and I had one. And we used to joke that Seal Aram, Zichrona Livracha, the bookkeeper, had an abacus. I love Seal. I really do miss her. Anyway, now there are computers everywhere where you turn in this building. Next to where Thomas is right now is a computer. And so there are computers everywhere. Anyway, so during 3 of the years that I worked here, I used to go up to the Berkshires a lot, often after Friday evening services, sometimes before, because my son went to a very special boarding school there, and every 6 weeks we had to go up for parents group. And I remain grateful to those who filled in for me for Shabbat's, Torah study, and religious school that I missed. And while we were in the Berkshires, we would stop at the local supermarkets there. And there, my husband and I developed a penchant for real estate pornography. No, don't get the wrong idea. Real estate porn are those magazines like this that came in the New York Times today that used to be at the supermarket entrances and exits with listings of properties, either primary or for a weekend home. So we called it real estate porn because it was a true fantasy, because there was one problem, well, many problems, one of which was I worked weekends, and there would be no need for a weekend home. West End Temple I used to refer to as my beach house most weekends. I think I forgot about the work weekends part in my, when I applied to rabbinical school, it was like, oh, okay. Anyway, so there'd be no need for a weekend home, nor was there any cash to do so, for that matter, but it was always a fantasy to have a weekend home, and so my husband and I became addicted to real estate porn. Alas, these magazines are not around so much anymore, except the old ones that are in our house, and we aren't schlepping to Great Barrington every 6 weeks, thank God. He, by the way, starts med school in August. Like many publications, real estate porn has migrated to the internet, where I now have 2 special apps for them. And I receive a daily email with the subject line, "Houses we think you'd love." It's become, shall we say, a hobby of mine. Actually, we've gone up and looked at a couple of houses in the Poconos. Personally, I like the houses in California, and my husband likes houses that sit on a lake in New York and Pennsylvania. Would that we could afford 2 homes. Would that we could afford even 1. YOLO, you only live once, notwithstanding, I want to say that I totally own my privilege and first world problem of not owning 2 homes, because I am truly grateful for what I do have. I live in a rather large house for New York. So we'll probably never buy a second home. We'll just call it an aspirational dream of my retirement, to own a piece of land. Well, come to think of it, actually, as long as I'm being, somewhat revelatory, we have our home in Brooklyn, which we share with the bank. We'd like a house on a lake. I personally would like a house in Palm Desert, California for the winters. And as long as you're indulging my fantasy, I would love a home in Jerusalem too. A retired girl can dream, right? Now, I've told this story before. It's about real estate and home ownership. And the veracity of this story is under serious debate by historians. So it may be more mythical than fact, but regardless, it makes the point I want to make. And rabbis, use their rabbinic privilege to change things and make them work for us. The story goes that some Europeans, the Dutch, purchased Manhattan Island for a mere 60 guilders, or about $24, from the local indigenous people. Ha! What will $24 get you today? Inflation notwithstanding, 1 square foot of prime real estate, Manhattan real estate, is about $1,600 in today's market. But the takeaway from the story is that the indigenous people were stupid. Not so fast. They weren't stupid. Actually, it has been said that they thought they were pulling the wool over the eyes of the Europeans, they meaning the indigenous people. They thought that the Europeans were the crazy ones because how could anybody own land? In many indigenous religions, land belonged to the Great Spirit who made the land. People, animals, and insects simply used it. People, animals, and insects died, but the land lived on. Owning land made no more sense than owning stars, water, and clouds. So the indigenous people thought, if the Europeans insist on giving us something for value, for nothing, why not take it? Regardless of the veracity of this story, the indigenous people humored the Europeans and took the 60 guilders and trinkets and chuckled at the European stupidity. Even if it didn't happen, we need to understand that they were just operating from a different set of values than the New World settlers. It was a different way of understanding the cosmos. Once, a very long time ago, we too were more connected to the natural world. So much of the Jewish calendar is agriculturally, geographically, and environmentally connected. The rain, not in Spain, but the land of Israel, doesn't usually fall until the conclusion of Sukkot, so you don't get wet when you observe the mitzvah, leshev b'sukkah, when you dwell in the sukkah. Each pilgrimage to Jerusalem always happened during a full moon, when you could see better at night if you were schlepping to Jerusalem, and it's not the rainy season. There are no pilgrimage festivals between Sukkot and Pesach, simply because it's the rainy season. So the crops grow, and then you can bring your grain harvest and your sacrificial animals to Jerusalem for Pesach and Shavuot, so that the priests and the priest's family can have a nice meal. And you obviously give a sacrifice to God as well in the temple, which, as you know, no longer exists, just the wall, the western wall. And you will have finished your harvest you will have finished your fall harvest before Sukkot ends, when it will begin to rain. And then we can start praying for rain again and drop the dew prayer until after Pesach. Like the indigenous peoples of North America, we were intimately connected to our land and our environs. Like God rested on the Sabbath, we too stop work and rest. We are productive 6 days a week, and on the seventh day, productivity ceases. Quote, "The land is mine, you are but strangers, residents with me," end quote, God asserts in Bahar, our Torah portion this week. We are told, "When you enter the land that I am giving you, the land shall observe a sabbatical year of Adonai. 6 years you may sow your field, and for 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather in the yield. But in the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath of Adonai." In other words, the land is to lie fallow every 7th year to give the earth a rest. Yup, the land belongs to God, or more poetically, as the psalmist says, and as we used to say in the really old Union prayer book, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein." Not so unlike the worldview of indigenous folk who sold Manhattan to the Europeans. So to whom does the earth belong? Can it be sold like Manhattan Island? Or shall we find that Jewish tradition places us as tenants, with God as the landlord? Our tradition is rife with poetry and prayer and outlook as to whom the earth belongs. The psalmist spoke of nature's powers. Let the sea roar, let the floods clap their hands, let the mountains sing for joy. The rabbis also wrote blessings of praise of life and its creator. The rabbis believed that to taste a morsel of bread required a blessing to thank God for the nourishment that the bread gives. There are blessings for seeing rainbows, shooting stars, trees in blossom, oceans and mountains. I'd like to know where the blessing is for the, high pollen count, because I'm not enjoying that so much these days. The rabbis recognized God as creator, and they didn't worship nature, but they grasped that alienation from nature was dangerous. Avot de Rabbi Natan, an admixture of Mishnah and Midrash, probably from the 8th to 10th century, tells us, quote, whatever the Holy One, blessed be, created the world, the Holy One created in the human being. The Holy One created forests in the world and forests in the human being. The Holy One created wind in the world and wind in the human being, a sun in the world and a sun in the human being. Such an alienation from nature was never meant to be. I don't need to tell you how alienated we have become from nature. We care about weather, right? We ask ourselves if it's beach weather. Will it rain? Shall we go on vacation to Maine during the month of June? No, because it's black fly season. It's always about our convenience. Smartly, we put on sunscreen because we know that too much sun can be very dangerous, if not deadly. It's annoying that we have to bring our own bags to the supermarket. What's even more annoying is leaving them in the car when you go shopping, right? Or maybe I'm only speaking for myself here. Almost 10 years ago, the bay and the ocean met in this sanctuary. As far as I'm concerned, it was never an act of God, insurance companies and FEMA notwithstanding. Science reminds us that our sea levels are truly rising, because this is the only earth we have. At one time, once, a long time ago, we stood in awe of creation. Once we were enmeshed in a positive way with its flow. Environmentalists have often accused the monotheistic tradition, aka Judaism, as the cause of the despoliation and defoliation of the earth. Since monotheism demanded that God be above and removed from nature, humans lost their belief that the environment was divine, and so the God of Genesis told humans to subdue and master it, not worship it. I'll call that a little bit ignorance, and possibly even anti-Semitism to pin that on the Jews. I mean, that was in the 70s, that was the reason that the world was the way it was, is because of monotheism. But subduing and mastering with a Hebrew and Jewish understanding and context flips that assertion over. Rabbi Ellen Bernstein, a Jewish environmentalist, writes, the concept of dominion in this context is a blessing, a bracha, a divine act of love. While God blessed the birds and fish with fertility, God blessed humanity with both fertility and authority over nature. In more abstract terms, the fish receive a blessing in a horizontal dimension, while Adam, is blessed in both horizontal and vertical dimensions. Like the animals, the Adam is called to multiply and spread over the earth. But unlike the animals, Adam stands upright as God's deputy, overseeing the animals and the plants. She continues, it is necessary to remember the context of blessing as we examine the so-called accused words, master, and have dominion over. It is also important to remember that Hebrew is a more symbolic, multi-layered, and vague language than English. Any single word root can have multiple meanings, and often a word and its opposite will share the same word root. According to the late biblical scholar Norbert Samuelson, both kabesh, which means master, and radah, which means have dominion over, appear in these particular grammatical forms here and nowhere else in the Bible. So translating them is not a cut and dried affair. The root of the Hebrew word for mastery, chaf bet shin, is related to the Aramaic word to tread down or make a path. In the book of Zechariah, the root kabesh is meaning master, is interchangeable with the root achal, the word for eat. Although kabesh is translated as subdue or master, and also in modern Hebrew it means conquer, it appears to have agricultural implications. The root of the Hebrew word for have dominion over, resh daled hey, generally refers to ruling over subjects. In a play on the root word, Rashi, the foremost medieval Jewish commentator, explains that if we consciously embody God's image and rule with wisdom and compassion, we will rise above the animals and preside over, radah, them, ensuring a life of harmony on earth. However, if we are oblivious to our power and deny our responsibility to creation, we will yored, sink below the level of animals, bringing ruin to ourselves and to the world. Another wonderful midrash illustrates God's intent on placing Adam in the garden. From Kohelet Rabbah, we read, in the hour when the Holy Blessed One created the first human, God took him and let him pass all the trees in the Garden of Eden and said to him, "See my works, how excellent and fine they are. Now I'm going to create for you. Now all that I am going to create for you, I have already created. Think about this, and do not corrupt and desolate my world. For if you do corrupt it, there will be no one to set it right after you." Yes, in traditional Jewish theology, God was separate from nature, and at the same time, when you say that God is the owner of the earth, we can also say we are God's caretakers. By envisioning God as separate need not mean over and above with God is powerful and we are powerless, but rather we are co-partners, responsible workers on earth rather than subduers and masters. So to whom does the earth belong? Can it be sold like Manhattan Island? Or shall we find that Jewish tradition places us as tenants with God as landlord? One of my favorite stories in tradition, you know this, it's the one where the old man is planting a carob tree and someone walks by and says, "Old man, why are you doing that? You're never going to live to see the carobs bloom. You'll never see the tree's produce." And he responds, "My grandfather planted trees that were here when I got here, so it will be the same for my grandchildren." And so I invite you to remember to bring your shopping bags into the supermarket, and I invite you to leave a viable earth for the next many generations to come. Oh, and I'll work on tempering my desire for a second home, even though I'd love to be closer to nature. The end. We're going to continue with the announcement of the Omer, the counting of the Omer, which is on page 278. Page 278.
For those who don't know, what is the Omer? What exactly are we counting?
The Omer is a period of time between Pesach and Shavuot. And an Omer is like a sheaf of wheat. And so we count the 40 days between Pesach and Shavuot. It is the time, it is said that is also the time when the 40 days it took to get from Egyptian slavery to Mount Sinai, where God would give us the Torah. So again, this is, counting is it sheaves? Yeah, it would be sheaves of, I don't know, maybe it's barley, I'm not sure, some grain, is a way that we stay connected to the earth. Hineni muchan u'mezuman l'kayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat ha'omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al sfirat ha'omer, our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom chamisha ushloshim yom shehem I can't read. My glasses are steaming up. Chamisha shavuot la'omer. Today is 35 days, which is 5 weeks of the Omer. And now, having counted the Omer, reminding us to think about nature for a second or two, I invite you to rise for the Aleinu on page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gidola liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kishmipachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad.
May be seated. Our service continues with the Kaddish. And Thomas, I don't know if you received any names?
Yes.
Oh, you have it already?
Yes.
So smart, okay. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. And so on this Shabbat, we recall the recent deaths of Myra Levine Zweifler Levine, Erica Keller, and Edith Koltoff. And those whose yahrzeits occur, David Aronofsky, Leo Dorick, Percy Freelander, Harry Goldstein, Murray Hermelin, Faye Funt Hoffman, Anna Udelson, Anna Kissel, Jenny Krassoff, Irving Lampert, Doris Lusthouse, Jill Mahalovitz, Seymour Mazes, Elaine Markson, David Mindish, Arthur Morris, Sophie Pearl, Ronnie Sylvain Posel, Joseph Russo, Dr. Manuel I. Smallwood, and Florence Spearer.
From our congregation on Zoom, we are also thinking about Debbie Baisden, who passed earlier this year. And we also hold in our hearts the 10 victims of the massacre that occurred in Buffalo last week. Roberta A. Drury, Margus D. Morrison, Andre McNeil, Aaron Salter, Geraldine Talley, Celestine Cheney, Hayward Patterson, Catherine Massey, Pearl Young, and Ruth Whitfield.
Zichronam livracha.
Zikronam livracha.
We rise for Kaddish. We're on page 294. Yitgadol v'yikadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedechol be'Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Mivarach Leolam Ulomei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitraman V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitala Shemei Dekudsha Brihu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran B'alma V'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel and to the entire world, to which we say Amen. Okay, you may be seated. Lori, would you come up and share some announcements with the group?
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi. It was a pleasure. It was great having you back. Lovely to see you again behind the podium here. Your least favorite podium. Your least favorite podium. And to our guests who came from far and wide to be here. Ruben, welcome. Lovely to meet you. Liv, you did an amazing job.
Thanks, Mom.
Really beautiful. Tommy, as always. Okay, so, as you know, every morning Shabbat there is Zoom Torah study from 9 to 10, except for tomorrow because Rabbi Epstein is away, I believe. She's not doing it.
She's, I believe, unavailable.
Right, okay.
But if you want to check, you can go on the link at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I
anyway,
don't think
just to
she's doing
see.
it tomorrow.
Just to see.
So there's also, thank you. There's a
don't know.
weekly seniors discussion group on Wednesdays between 10 and 11:30 a.m. This Sunday is the annual Israeli Day Parade, and whoever wants to march is invited to march with ARZA, and I guess that's an organization of some kind, and the Reform Movement in collaboration with the Zionist movement. And I assume that whoever wants to do that has already been given instruction or knows how to meet up with them. So Saturday, June 4th, from 6 to 8 p.m., we will be celebrating Shavuot, which means we eat cheese and drink wine and have cheesecake. I guess it's a dairy thing. And have a Havdalah ceremony to end Shabbat. And an engaging Torah teaching in the tradition of Tikkun Leil Shavuot, studying on the night of Shavuot. And Sunday, June 5th, we will continue at 10:30 a.m. to celebrate Shavuot. There'll be a Yiska service and also a bar mitzvah of Kurt Salman. On June 10th at 6 p.m., we will be dedicating the sanctuary windows. Rabbi Weiss and Bat Weiss windows, and Willie Weiss, Rabbi Weiss's son, will be here. And everyone, please show up for the congregational breakfast on Sunday, June 12th, 10 a.m. We need your votes and...
Say that date again. Say the date again. So no
Sunday,
excuse.
June 12th at 10 a.m., congregational breakfast.
Sunday, June 12th at 10 a.m. Congregational breakfast.
That means free bagels. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
You are required to be there. Please come.
I just said that the rabbi's email said there is no Torah study.
Okay, thank you, Art. There is no Torah study tomorrow. Thank you, Art, for clarifying.
Okay,
Oh, I would also just like to thank Rabbi Slom again for coming and leading us. It's always nice to have you back.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
And
it was an honor to lead with you.
oh,
For those who don't know, Rabbi Slom was the one who conducted my bat mitzvah, and she was the rabbi that I grew up with. And for some reason or another, when I was bat mitzvahed, when I became bat mitzvah, I was not passed down a talit. We just didn't have one in the family, I guess. So when Rabbi Slom retired, she gifted me this talit and this kippah. And I wear it whenever I can. I wear the kippah every Friday, and it's always an honor when I get to come up here and be shaliach and wear my talis. So thank you very much for coming, and it's an honor to lead with you.
And it truly is an honor that you are here with me, and I'm always honored to be asked to lead services at West End Temple, although I forgot how anxiety-inducing this really is. So I don't want to do it that much, but happy to pitch in when I can.
Sometimes we take out bourbon for the
Pardon me?
kiddush. Sometimes we take out bourbon for the kiddush. We take bourbon out for the kiddush
The bourbon-
sometimes.
Right, if I weren't driving and I lived
Okay,
in the
never
neighborhood,
mind.
I would probably want some. But actually, I don't like bourbon, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
Sorry.
I'm a white wine wuss. So at any rate, we're going to close with Shalom Aleichem.
Yes.
And
it's
Olivia, Liv will lead us to
Yes.
the lobby.
For Kiddush and Mosi. It's not your mother, Shalom Aleichem. That's what I've coined it. Gabe taught it to me. Okay. I would like for everyone to clap if you want. Please clap. Okay. Let's go. No. It's to the rhythm. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Yasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei